Okay, yeah,
Sure, let's go. Let's do
let's
it.
go. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to this webinar, ProDiT webinar, Challenges to Tackling Digital Transformation. I'm happy to present and introduce you to Daniel Piret, CEO of ETM Platform, and René Álvarez, specialist in project management and BI solutions. We are having today a dialogue with them about digital transformation, but first of all, I want to give them space to show us and tell us what is ITM Platform. Who's
Well,
first?
thanks for having us, first thing. And yeah, we're not planning on doing any presentation because I guess that people here are to talk and listen and participate in the digital transformation discussion, right? So for those who don't know ITM Platform, if there's anyone, it's a project portfolio management solution. And if you don't know what that is, you can think about it as of in your company organization, you usually have work that's usually assigned to tasks or activities or the things that people do, right? And those tasks are grouped in projects that, you know, they have a starting date, an end date, and then you assign a budget, and then you manage their risks, their issues, the resources, the calendars, and all that creates the project management. So project portfolio management does that, plus on the upper side of it, programs and portfolio management. Basically, programs are groups of projects that make sense to group together based on the usually on the business goals, right? And then you have the portfolio, and all that needs to be managed as a whole. The benefits to that for a business, especially when you use a PPM software, is that you're able to align the business goals, so your business, to your projects, so that you can decide which projects are going to add more value or which projects are running but should be killed. Well, all that is ITM Platform. Very happy to give a presentation if anyone is interested.
Thank you, Daniel.
And with us is also René, who can introduce himself, maybe.
Sure. Thanks. And thanks for having us again. So we are very excited about this little talk about digital transformation. It is very, very important for us because in the end, yeah, we all do work, we all do projects. I hope that everyone realized that you are involved in a project, even if you are not managing those. However, the perspective that we have now is completely aligned to digital transformation, but sometimes that is not very well understood. So this is a great opportunity for us to not just talk about how we can help you solve certain specific organizational problems, like, for example, having visibility on what the people is doing, why they are doing that. Why should you engage someone into a project? Well, hopefully because that is going to give you some benefit, right? So ITM Platform is all about that. It's all about giving you visibility and the tools to really be on the driver's seat. You want to control your organization and what is the direction you should go through, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's a tool. I'm going to start asking you questions. I have a lot of them, but please, if anyone wants to ask anything, just raise their hand and I will give you permission to talk, or write in the chat and we will read your questions. Feel free to participate in any moment.
And I would say maybe not only questions, but your comments and experiences, you know, because in the end, we are as a product, as a company, exposed to clients, and that gives us some perspective. But of course, if you have your own experience, it would be great if you could share it with us.
That would be great. I'm sure our participants
Hopefully.
have something to share. Yeah. So first of all, digital transformation is a process. We all agree on that. Do you think, how would you define this process? I mean, it's defined like a project with a beginning and an end, or is something different?
Okay, yeah, I think if you define digital transformation as, I think it's a process, yes, that fundamentally and profoundly changes a business. Let's dig a little bit into this. So we have digital and we have transformation. The digital part, I think it's a bit, I don't know, maybe there's a better term for it, but it speaks to technology, right? I'm more interested in the second part probably, which is transformation. So digital transformation would mean that you use technology to transform your business. Could be in the operations, the way you run your business. It could be in the products themselves. So you deliver different and better products or new products, digital products, or you use technology to make better decisions, like with using data analytics, right? So with that in mind, of course, I don't think it's a one-time initiative, if you like. It's not something that happens once. It's something that should be part of the DNA of companies. Of course, as always, there's time to harvest and there's time to invest, right? So at some points in history of your business, you probably need to care much more about digital transformation. If anyone in the audience is as old as I am, would probably remember the years 2000, where this thing of digital transformation was something really important, right? And I think now we're approaching a moment where it's going to be very important as well. So to answer your question, I think that you need to look at the market, at the trends and what's going on, what's happening. And as a leader, decide whether it's the moment to tackle a big wave of digital transformation. With this said, I think you need to always have an eye on technology, on the trends, and decide how is that going to affect your business. If it's a threat or it's an opportunity, or you don't even really know, right?
Okay. And so can you define digital transformation as the process to go from or adapt analog industry to digitalization only, or it's more?
I'll leave that to René.
That's actually a great question, because I was trying to remember when you said, Daniel, that if you're as old as me, right? That takes me back in time when this was something really new, right? Most of companies somehow worked from I don't want to use old terms, right? But companies weren't used to use I'm going to say computers, right? So there was a very big change in all industries when you needed to change and somehow adapt these new things that were going to perform faster than just using a typewriter or something like that, right? But I think nowadays most of the people that are looking for something like digital transformation or information about it, I think it's a common belief that once you are engaged in this process of changing your company, you are going to reach a stage where you don't want to transform anymore. You are now transforming to a newly digital company. And I don't believe that's true, because you are going to find through the process that transformation needs to be permanent. Before, yes, you could go from analog to digital, and now you are operating with modern techniques or digital processes, and that's it. Now you are digital, perfect. But today that is not enough. You need to be on a permanent change. You need to adapt every day, every week, every time. You need to improve things. Otherwise, you were able to change some things in your company, but you are always falling behind. and then you look around and you realize now you need to change again and change again, when really I think for me the goal is for us to understand that that change is permanent. That change is not something that you're going to get there and that's it. You need to keep on doing the same, right? So for me, again, as Daniel suggested, the important part for me is not the digital part, but the transformation, and that transformation can be permanent. So how well you are adapted to accept new changes, right? Because we are going to have some obstacles, some stoppers in the way, because this is really a challenge. You need to think in a different mindset. You need to adapt new tools, but you need to adapt them all the time. What is correct today might not be tomorrow, and that is part of the process.
Yeah, maybe linking the two things together. You asked first, the first question was whether this is a one-time initiative or is it a project. We already established that it's not a project, right? It's something ongoing and something that needs to be deeply integrated into the culture and DNA of the organization. With this said, and I think we're going to talk about that later, but with this said, I also think that tackling digital transformation needs to be done through projects, right? So I see the digital transformation like it's not the goal, but it's like the driving force, right? And how do you organize that? It's through projects. And that's very useful for the reasons that we all already know. And if not, we can discuss later on, right? And also, I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into this thing of, yeah, but the things that you're saying now applied like 10 years ago and 20 years ago and probably like 200 years ago, right? But I think, to be completely honest, when I received, and I discussed this with René, when I received the webinar title, it was digital transformation. I said, oh my God, again? And, because in my mind, it takes me back to the times where digital transformation was, let's not use computers, but it's the year 2000, and let's adapt machines, and let's adapt to the euro, and let's modernize the logistics of the company or the sales process or incorporate CRM. And it's true that technology is evolving every day and whatnot, but I think 2023 is the beginning, and I don't think I'm falling short here, is the beginning of a new era. And I'm specifically talking about AI, right? So I think this is going to be the most transformative technology event. I can't tell whether in history, I think someone can contest that and say, well, listen, the electricity was bigger than this, right?
No.
Fine. But not in the speed, right? So ChatGPT got in 2 months the number of users that the internet got in 2 years, for example, right? So it's the fastest growing, not only the products, just the technology ever. And I think it's a good idea if we use AI as an example of what it means to be ready for or to be leading the digital transformation, how it affects businesses, right? And I've put a lot of thought on this, and I keep doing it. And I better do, of course, because I run a business. So my way of saying this is, okay, if you have a business now in 2023 and you're seeing all these news about AI, what does that mean? Well, I think that you probably can feel threatened or can feel that you have some opportunity here or you don't know. And let me put some examples of this. I would say that if you have a business that's content-based, you can see this as a threat, right? And not only see it, it is a threat. And it is a threat maybe to your business model or maybe to your business as a whole. To give you an example, here at ITM Platform, whenever we publish some content, it goes through proofreaders, right? These people who go and read and, correct editors. 2 months ago, we decided not to use them anymore because it's so much more efficient to take your piece of text and asking GPT-3, 4, or whichever, are there any mistakes here? Can you make this a bit better? And it does. And it does in a fraction of the time and at a marginal cost of 0, right? So if you're in that business, you're in the business of content, I think, listen, there's something important here. I think it's what has not changed and will never, as far as I can see, is that a good business is a business that adds value, right? So you deliver value to your clients or your customers. So if that value is already provided by AI, then you need to do something different. You need to put your value on top of it. Right? Business that can be leveraged by AI, I think most of them would be those who are very close to the real world, right? For example, I would say healthcare or agriculture, or even things that are not so close, but are, well, manufacturing, of course. I was thinking probably insurance will be also quite leveraged by AI, right? So because these companies and yeah, especially insurance companies, historically have used a lot of risk management, and they have very, very advanced systems. So I think this is going to be very good for them. And then you have also, and I think this is the most interesting, at least to the extent of this webinar, would be that the businesses that you don't know. And most of us don't know. We don't have any idea of what's going to happen. For example, let's put ourselves as an example, right? Software. What is going to happen here? So, developers can say, well, listen, we have already a codex that already makes better code than I do, or if not better, very decent and extremely quick. For software companies, that could be an opportunity. Oh, we can get rid of the developers that make mistakes and have a lot of bugs, and we can ask the system, the AI, to develop the code and whatnot. But and that would be good. And how do we incorporate into products such as ITM Platform AI, right? We are already working today on that. But also you don't know, because will you need software like this in the future, or will just be a super big AI agent, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that digital transformation is absolutely paramount. Sorry. Being aware of how to tackle digital transformation is not a thing of the past, it's a thing of the present, and gathering the skills and the leadership required, it's going to be a must. And it's going to be a must to transform or transfer your company from the threatened companies to the ones that see an opportunity there. I don't know, René, maybe you want to add something?
No, you are absolutely right. So exactly, that was a great example, because probably right now many people are thinking about AI and thinking, well, we need to bring this on, right? We really need to have this tool. All right, I would ask them, what for? What do you want to achieve? Because AI is a tool, right? It's a very sophisticated tool. It's an incredible tool, but you are the one that needs to know how to use it. So even if AI is gonna displace some of the workers, is gonna make obsolete some of the jobs that might occur, probably it's gonna be, right. AI is very, very far away, at least in my opinion, is very far away from these threats to, oh, AI is gonna rule the world. And well, AI is not near. It's right now. It's impossible to
Not
think.
dystopian as well.
Yes, that AI will actually create something. It's an amazing tool. Yes, but we are the ones that can define how to use it. What is the purpose of that tool inside my organization? So that's why I think it's important to, yes, embrace new technology, embrace new tools, but also understand that we need to be on a constant change. Unlike in other times, previous times, when again you are engaged in some changes in your organization, you achieve that goal, perfect. You got your new services, your new products, your new production line, new machines, or whatever it is, and now you can enjoy the benefits of that for the next 10 years. That's not going to happen, right? So we just need to figure out how to use all those tools, but not just technological tools, but also new methodologies, new perspectives on how to constantly change our businesses, constantly change our organizations. Not only businesses, right? We are also thinking about nonprofit organizations that will I don't know, maybe transform how we produce food, or how we bring services to other parts of the world, right? So it is all involved into that. And you already introduced this part. I think one of the key ingredients for sure is going to be how we manage our projects. So years go by and project management is there, and it's going to be there for a very, very long time, because in the end, the concept will transform itself. The concept will change, but in the end, still projects, still programs, still business objectives, right? So it's the same concepts again, but now used in different ways, used to achieve different benefits.
And it would be a great moment if anyone in the audience wants to share their experiences, or I disagree with you guys, or I have this business, and let's
we have
make
some
this...
questions already.
Oh, you have questions.
Yeah,
that's great. So you want to
you
tackle them now, or at the end? What do you prefer?
I'm going to ask you one question, and then I will introduce at least this one. Francisco show some questions, but just to finish with this project concept transformation. I don't know if you have the feeling, but I feel, maybe because I'm not from this field, that AI is making a change. We need to make changes, but every time faster than the time before. It's kind of this continuous transformation, but it's going fast. So maybe we have a couple of months to transform, and now it's just a couple of weeks or a couple of days, and we need to adapt even faster every day. So how does project portfolio management can help the digital transformation?
Well, yes. So it's really interesting, because when we think about projects, we tend to think, I don't know if you agree with me, but when we, especially us, when we are speaking about something like project management, I think the audience tends to think that when we say project, is because a project is going to be perfect, because a project will start exactly at the right time, it's going to finish on the right time, under the budget, and everyone is going to be happy and all that, right? In the end, that's not how projects work. So it is very interesting, because in the end, I think it's really a problem on how we are engaged into project management, and that's why it is very important to really understand the nature, not just of your business or the outcomes that you want to get from a project, but how to properly manage it. So to go to your question, why is project management and portfolio management or program management, they're all connected? Why are they important, especially from the digital transformation perspective? Well, The reason is because the project will be defined by a goal. You have this goal that you want to get, and project management is the best way to get you there. So when you visualize that objective, then creating a project that will take you there, it's kind of automatic, right? I want to get there. What do I need to do? So project management will answer that question, how to get there. Now, the other aspect is, do I see that objective? Do I see that goal, right? So project management is not enough. Project management, when done properly, will ensure that in an organization, a project will be properly handled, will give us the possibility to make decisions, to make some adjustments during the way, right? But I needed to be able to see that goal in the first place. And sometimes projects are just like best wishes, right? So portfolio management, on the other hand, program management will try to answer that question. So you need also to be able to visualize what is the direction of your organization? Where do you want to get, right? How fast you want to get there? Do you have the resources to get there, right? So you can start creating these models that will give you different scenarios. For example, you can get you can transform your company within 2 years, for example, right? Well, the next question is, do you have the resources to do that in 2 years? And even if you have those resources, is that really the place where you want to get? Maybe you will discover during the process that actually the goal was a little bit different. Yes, you are in the right direction, but probably that was not the original goal. Okay, so the combination of these disciplines, the combination of a great tool and the combination of human resources that are properly engaged into those situations, those are the key ingredients that will get you there. So again, you need these concepts because they will tell you what is your goal. And once you identify that, they will help you achieving that goal with the less amount of effort, with the less amount of money, right? We all want to maximize our budget. Our budget is limited. My resources are limited. So I want to get there in the best way, in the best possible way. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, I have more. So
Awesome.
yeah. So for example,
let's see if,
That's great.
let's see if we have answers.
Francisco, that is here with us, posted a question in the chat that is similar to one of the ones I was thinking about asking. So I'm going to go for that. What are the main barriers that companies face when implementing digital transformation, and how they effectively overcome them? Where are the challenges for the digital transformation for companies?
I think there are many, and we probably can dig into them, but I think to me, the number one is leadership. So I think a company that effectively wants to tackle digital transformation, remember, transformation is key here, right? So it's not the digital. Other leaders or the C-level executives, what I find is that oftentimes leaders have more understanding of the transformation part of it, which is good, not so much about the technology or digital part, right? And well, I think leaders today need to combine the two of them together. And I think it's important because I think it's important, and I think leaders need to think about several dimensions of vectors, if you like, right? One would be, well, who has the authority, who has the power to drive this? And moreover, who is the dreamer, right? So who is the one who needs to imagine the company in the future and seduce everyone into that dream? And that probably can only be done by a C-level executive, CEO, or you know, or nothing else. I mean, that's it, right? Because it can be inspired by people within the organization, but it can only be led by a C-level because of this. Also, C-level executives have two great features, so to speak. One is that they have an oversight on the whole organization, so they understand all the departments, and moreover, they understand the business model, right? So why do people get so frustrated when they suggest some transformation for the company and the C-level, the bosses say, nah. Well, oftentimes the bosses are right, and that is because they have a global view, whereas you as an individual, like a manager in a department or whoever, have a limited view. It doesn't mean that you're not right, but it means that you're lacking the overall view. That's why I think also it's very important that the leadership is leading, right? So there's also a few other things that I think need to be taken care of. One, and they're very connected. One would be the communication, right? So you cannot pretend to do a huge transformation in your company and not communicate properly, right? So that needs to usually flow in a very natural but powerful top-down way. So this is what we're doing. And basically because these will generate resistance. People in general resist to change, right? And transformation involves, of course, change. And the only way to do this is by communicating, by having a good team management, and probably the most important one of all is to change the culture. You need to change people's mindsets, and oftentimes people, in order to achieve these goals, right? Because in the end, nothing will happen if A, everybody's working towards the same goal, and B, everybody's doing it, right? So it's a two things, it's the direction and the power. Because again, it's transformational. So if you're going to say, okay, listen, our company needs to deliver differently the value to their customers, that is not only something about production, it's about sales, it's about marketing, it's about your brand, it's about every single possible area in your organization. And the last one in my mind would be the investment, right? So these things are not cheap, and not only in terms of money. We have this investment capacity, so this is what we can do. It's not only that, it's the cost of opportunity. So whenever you need to make a decision about something relevant, because you see that the market is changing, the conditions are evolving, and you need to adapt. Well, you probably were not sitting in your chair just waiting, right? No, you were doing stuff. And at some point, you need to say, hey, we're going to stop doing what we were doing, unless it's essential, and start doing these other things. Who can make those decisions? Again, C-level, like top executives, right? So summarizing, to me, the challenge usually comes from the leadership. And I've seen oftentimes leaders abdicating in some other people, saying, well, you do this thing. And no, they can't. No, they can't, because of the reasons that I just explained.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm making sense here, or René, maybe.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's the key. That's really the key. The one that I typically see doing what I do is mostly that resistance change. So that is huge. So yeah, the leader needs to be very creative, right? It's not just a nice desire, a nice wish, right? We need to be creative to get us there, but also we need to engage the people, because in the end, the leader can say, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do it that way. But even if the people follow that, follow those instructions, I'm going to say, right, and I operate the way that you want, that doesn't mean that I truly believe in that. So to get the best of that transformation process, the people need to follow the leader, right? So, and yeah, again, we go back in circles. It's the leader communicating properly. It's a change management process as well, right? And in the end, is the people that will execute that vision.
Yeah, I think the audience, I want to ask the audience if you agree with this. If anyone wants to comment.
No,
Well,
I
I would
don't.
like to hear people disagreeing more than
Yes.
agreeing.
I have one question that is strongly related, I think, but might suggest you some other challenges, maybe more specific. So it says how companies can effectively use artificial intelligence technologies like ChatGPT in their digital transformation process, and how could they ensure they stay updated in the environment of constant and rapid evolution? So does it only leadership, or is something else needed in this specific case?
Yeah, listen, I think we are in the early days for starters. So any answer anyone can give you will probably be outdated, or it could be controversial or whatever. What I would suggest is, at least what I'm doing, is to try to, as deep as you can, understand AI, right? We have, of course, we're exposed to the media, and we're exposed to Twitter and all that kind of networks that throw at you amazing use cases, right? Yesterday, I read one that a guy invested, I think it was $1,000, and said, "No, you're the CEO. ChatGPT, do whatever. Tell me what to do." And it's working, and he got investors and whatnot, right? And you can get really impressed by those things. But I don't think you can incorporate any of that unless you understand what this is. What, for example, if you say, well, how can I incorporate ChatGPT into my business? You're making a mistake, probably, because ChatGPT is a product, right? And it's an AI product that is very good at chatting with you, and it's very good at generating the next word. You first need to understand what this is, what this does. You have tons of videos, of courses, and I wouldn't stay probably on the YouTube 10-minute video thing to understand it. I would recommend you to really take courses of AI. There's one very nice in Coursera called AI for Everyone. It's been there for 10 years and evolving every time. So yeah, and there's many others that are great and probably free that give you a good understanding. Because otherwise, what you're gonna do is to replicate what others do, right? So, and then you're gonna yell at your programmers and say, "I want this thing that this other guy is doing," but you're not really incorporating this into your business. With that said, again, it's challenging. It's very difficult to imagine the future. So what we are doing here is, first, as I said, try to understand. Second, try to get some quick wins that will not only be quick, but give the most value in the least time, because we are just experimenting. Let's not forget that these are experiments. Some of those experiments can be a blockbuster, so that you nailed it, but it's more likely that you need to run 10 or 20 of those in order to have one that delivers a good value, right? So I would tie this to two things. One, the experimental methodology. If you're not familiar with that, again, Google is your friend. Well, maybe not Google anymore. Ask ChatGPT. It's better.
Yes.
And two, I would always look at it as a in the framework of project management. Can be, of course, agile, and it's quite agilely, because you don't know the outcome, you don't really know, but manage that because you can get lost in it. It's so absorbing that you can just get lost in the rabbit hole and die there.
Right. Yeah. No. And let me dig a little bit deeper into that. I want to start by saying that it's even debatable if we should call it AI at all. But leaving that aside,
it really looks like the eye, right, of intelligence.
Exactly.
It looks like it.
It's an amazing tool. It's really impressive. I wouldn't believe it if you told me a couple of years ago, right? But I think, again, we are kind of in the middle of this media debate. If we are facing something like The Matrix or something like that. So that is science fiction. We are very, very far away from that yet. However, it is an amazing tool. But for example, you mentioned before, ChatGPT or these AI tools are amazing tools when I need to build software, for example. And they can build a piece of software in a very short time, right? But in the end, it's me that needs to copy and paste that piece of code and make it work, right? So right now, I cannot tell ChatGPT, please build me my CRM and let me know how my sales are doing, right? It would be great, but we are not there yet. However, how do I see this incorporated in the near future? So probably from today up to, I don't know, maybe 1 year, when this technology starts to be more used and used. It is important to understand where in your organization you handle a lot of information. And more especially than that, when you have historical information. A project is a good example, right? You are engaged in many different projects. You have been involved in many different projects. So if you could somehow gather all that information and feed an AI model that information, then you could use it to your benefit. So where do I see it? Well, instead of having these large document repositories anywhere you have them, right? We can try to connect them to AI and explore that information to give us answers that we could not get if I expose someone to that information as well, and I tell them, please read them and get me my answers. There's no way a person or a group of people can do that. AI is perfect for that. So to analyze your data, right? One example is these BI solutions, right? There are many different BI solutions that will not only present you with beautiful charts and ways to interact with the data, but important part in this around this topic is the fact that I can expose that model of AI to my data and get me some answers. So to identify patterns. Right now, this AI model, what they're based at is identify patterns. Patterns in speech, but also patterns in numbers, patterns in data, right? So if you have data in your organization and you have data in your organization and you want to try these models, right, to see them work, that's one way to start. So let's, for example, if your organization is a construction company, you can gather all the data for the last, I don't know, I'm going to say the last 5 projects, right? You probably have a lot of information there. You can expose that into a model and see what happens. Let's ask that model, can you figure out if we did it okay or what were our mistakes? Can you anticipate if we run into a similar project in the future, we will run into the same problems or no, right? So that's how I see right now these AI tools like ChatGPT incorporated in our daily work, right? So just have them search the information for you, not just in Google, not just in overall internet, but into your company's data. That's the real power for you.
It makes total sense. So one last question, as we are running out of time. I can't believe it. It's going fast. Yeah. Okay. So one question from the audience too. Could you share with us a concrete example of a company that has successfully implemented a digital transformation? And what do you believe was the key factors that allow them to achieve it?
Well, I can think out of the bat, maybe a couple of examples. One remarkable, I think, was Netflix. You know, Netflix was a DVD rental by mail company, right? And I think all the cases that we know, of course, they're big and very renowned, if you like. So
very well known. Yeah.
very well known, yes. But the thing is, I think they have something in common, which is they understood. There's two things, I think. One, they understood before others. And most importantly, they executed before others, right? So in the case of Netflix, probably they were not the only ones, right? So there was already the cable TV and everything like that. But they said, no, listen, let's deliver content in not only streaming, but continuously. I mean, continuously, not in the way that the streaming works, but in the way that you can at any moment go back and forth and see and re-see everything that you want, right? And all the content for your subscription. I think they were quite pioneers in that. And I think what matters in the case of Netflix, as far as I know, is the drive of the owners into the execution of that vision, which turned out to be a little bit too hard. Now, you know, they now are probably facing some problems because of that, or in the past, where they said, no, you know, you can't, for example, how many days of vacation do I have for the year? And they would say, whatever, take whatever you need. Turns out that, of course, everybody would say, okay, I'll take a couple of them, a year or three, because they said, if they tell me, take any days that you want, that means that I cannot take many, right? So execution, I think it's a big part of the success of Netflix. The other big one would be Amazon, that they were born out of digital transformation, but transforming an entire business category, right? So they didn't start selling books like, you know, they started digital, but they transformed a sector that already existed in a very meaningful way. And again, the key there, because we're not the only ones, the key there is the execution, right? Yeah, those are the examples that I can think of. I mean, there's probably more. I think Nike were very insisting also into their process. Walmart is a very good example. Walmart could have been dead by now, but they're not, because they use, well, AI or data analytics very intensively in order to place the product exactly where it needs to be at the price that it needs to be. And again, that's a giant. How do you think Walmart was able to do this? Well, in my view, there's no doubt that is thanks to very strong leadership, because there's no other way you can drive an entire organization to doing these things. That plus experimenting. I'm a great advocate for experimenting.
Yeah. So those are great examples. Okay, so any more questions from our audience, please? You can just write them or open your microphone and talk to our colleagues
And
here.
talk, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can talk. Maybe there are no more questions.
No,
from
they're
the
shy. They're
platform.
shy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe they're shy. So anyway, thank you very much for the interesting webinar, says Francisco, that you answer all his questions, so he's thankful.
Okay.
Very interesting comments. Yeah. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I really enjoy having you here. I hope we have another opportunities to
Hopefully.
talk about digital transformation. I'm happy that I'm not the only one that see this coming so fast, and you have to run even faster. And I'm an offer runner, so I'm it's not the best shape for me. Okay, so thank you.
Okay. Thank
See you
you.
next
and thanks
time.
everybody.
Yeah, seeing you next time. Stay tuned, and see you in our next event.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for having
you.
us.
Bye
Have a good
bye.
day, everyone.
Take
Bye.
care.